I'd like to welcome you to the 2023 Garden Center Show. Thank you so much for being here. I know a few people are still coming in, but welcome, welcome. We're looking forward to another fantastic show. I see some familiar faces. It's good to see all of you. Some of you were on our Garden Center store tour yesterday. Who was on that tour with us? Let's see. All right, yeah, you made it back. You survived. We had a good time of networking and checking out a lot of local garden centers and brainstorming and being inspired by what we saw and just all of our conversations together. And our next 3 days here at the show will be the same, just being inspired and being able to network and get to know each other a little bit more too. So welcome to our very first keynote address of this year's show. And we're happy to have Nicole Leinbach here with us, just Leinbach, all right? And anyway, and so she's going to be addressing on what the Garden Center what the Garden Center store will look like tomorrow and in the future. So we're really lucky to have her here with us. So Nicole is a retail professor at Columbia University. She's been featured on the Today Show. She's been featured on Fox Network. She was the spokesperson for Small Business Saturday by American Express. And she's going to be inspiring us this morning and envisioning us and giving us all sorts of things to discuss and talk about. You can find out more about Nicole and what she offers at retailminded.com. And also today, after her address, you can find her on the show floor in the LGR Networking Lounge. She'll be there to take questions and just be a casual setting where you can ask and get to know her a little bit more. And you can ask her questions about what she discusses here this morning in our keynote, but also anything else, any other retail questions. She is ready. You can ask her about really anything too. I don't know if she'll be able to answer, but anyway, you can ask her. But do visit her at the LGR Networking Lounge right after this. Also, just another form of announcement, in front of you or on your chair when you sat down will be a session evaluation form. If you would be so kind to fill this out, and then you can drop it in one of the green baskets as you exit this room. This helps us just get better and improve and give feedback to Nicole, and we appreciate your assistance with this. So, everybody, you ready to have a good time? All right, ready to learn, ready to grow? Okay, well, without further ado, Nicole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Heath. Thank you, everybody. I'm so looking forward to being here today. As Heath said, my name is Nicole. I'm founder of Retail Minded. I'm also the daughter of a woman who's since passed, but loved garden centers. So I grew up going to a tremendous amount of garden centers. And still do in various ways. And I was telling someone else over here from Indiana, my sister talks about her compost and goes to garden centers like on the daily. So, you know, it's a big part of my personal world in addition to this professional world that we get to overlap in the retail side. So, looking forward to being here today. A bit more about me. I am a self-described retail geek. So, while I'm not the compost geek that my identical twin sister is, I am a retail geek. And so I really love getting to share with you guys what the future of retail will look like. I'm going to share with you a lot of different insight. Some of it might be surprising, some of it you might be familiar with. But what I'm really excited about is being able to give you guys applicable insight that you can work and put towards your own unique business and success. So, my first question is, did you know that the nursery garden industry is expected to reach $16.8 billion revenue by 2025? That's a tremendous opportunity for you guys to really capture dollars from consumers and work towards growing your business. The question is, of course, how do you achieve that? Okay? Just because there's opportunity doesn't always mean you're going to get those dollars. That's the reality of life and business. So what I want to talk about today is the realities of retail, and more specifically, how the path to purchase is not straight for customers. And because of this, it cannot be straight for stores either, okay? The path to purchase is more complex than it's ever been in the business of retail. Customers, you guys are customers. You know firsthand what it is to make a purchase, a transaction. There could be, quite a few obstacles along the way. And I look at those as detours, as road bumps. You've taken the wrong turn, so to speak. And what happens is, on the path to purchase, when consumers set out to get something, they can be persuaded to go somewhere else. Potentially, they simply get distracted. Maybe somebody in the car decided to throw a fit, because we all know about those kids in the back seat sometimes for some of those consumers, right? So something can steer them off course from an intended destination or purchase. And when that happens, collisions take place. And this happens in the business of retail all the time. It doesn't matter what type of business you're operating, whether it's landscape, garden center specific, a floral store, or an apparel boutique. It doesn't matter. The path to purchase is always going to have opportunities for collisions. So the questions become, what can you do? Okay? How do you avoid all of those collisions and detours and wrong way turns from happening, and then ultimately make sure that you can be where your customers are? Because despite those collisions and despite everything that's taking place, you need to make sure that you not just end up where they are, but also where they're going, okay? And the future of retail is really an opportunity for you guys to embrace how you can stay ahead and make sure that the curves that are going to be among us will still take you to where you need to be. And with that in mind, you need to be an adapter of change, okay? I really need you guys today to accept that, because there's a lot of, let's face it, complacency that individuals tend to fall into habits with, right? As people, just human beings, we get comfortable. And we have to make sure that we challenge ourselves to step outside our comfort zones so that we accept the change that's going to happen. The future of retail will, in fact, bring change. We already see it. You've already seen it. We have a great example of COVID having introduced us to change, right? That was a huge detour disruption of commerce and life. And what happened is, as businesses, we had to make changes. And disruption, right? Disruption happened during that. It's going to continue to happen as we move ahead in all the years. But here's something really interesting to think about. Historically, commerce has always changed. We haven't needed something like COVID to change things. Commerce changed because it will always evolve, because consumers will always evolve. The habits of consumers will evolve. Transactions, payment types, product, inventory, all of those things will bring disruption. And they might even bring challenges. But they also bring excitement, okay? There's a lot to look forward to when we think about the future. And opportunities. Definitely opportunities for me is one of the most favorite things we have when we look ahead into 2024, 2025, 2030, all the years ahead of us. And with that will come sales. And if we actually embrace that detours, collisions, wrong way turns will take place, and then accept that we can still stay on that path to purchase and bring consumers to our stores, then we can embrace these dollars. So the question is, are you guys ready to keep up? So today, I'm going to talk about how can lawn and garden centers be forward-thinking in order to keep up, okay? That's my goal for you guys. I want to make sure that we're looking ahead and we're embracing all the things that are in front of us. And hopefully, some of this, you're already either on track of doing or you feel comfortable doing. But no matter what, I want you to leave here feeling like confident that you can in fact do this, okay? So I want to make sure you also know who your customers are. This is going to be key. But I also want you to understand who your customers are not. By show of hands, who here feels like there's an audience of consumers in their local marketplace they have yet to reach? I'd say like maybe 40% of you raised your hands. And so the reality is that there's so many consumers available, and yet so many don't feel as if they are being supported. And this is just from general data. I don't make these numbers up. Everything today that I show you with data will come with sources in the bottom corner. So, because it would be fun to throw out some really random facts, but we have tremendous data shared with us all the time, and today I'm going to share a lot of that with you. You need to make sure that you are not just where your customers are, but you also have to be where your customers, and you currently are not. Okay? In other words, you need to be everywhere. And be where consumers are today and will be heading tomorrow. So in doing that, today we're going to look at 5 different points, and I'll take you through each 5 of these, going through ways to connect with consumers and making sure that you can be forward-thinking on that path to purchase and your business goals in the future and looking ahead. So beginning with generational habits, and then we'll talk more in depth about that path to purchase, customer connectivity, what I call shoppertainment, and I'll explain that more later, and then technology that you actually need, okay? The real key here, though, is to make sure that we are a part of a 24/7 cycle of consumer experience. Even if your business is only open from 9 to 5 every day, you need to have 24/7 accessibility, okay? So as we talk today, always keep in mind, this is not just about when your doors are open. It's about where customers are. And we know, you know, that that's everywhere nowadays. So beginning with generational habits. The biggest advantage that you have in operating your business is that you guys are each consumers yourselves, okay? The catch is, you guys know what the catch is? Not all consumers are the same, okay? I can tell you right now that I might shop very differently than my identical twin sister who I spoke with earlier, or I spoke about earlier, I could say, okay? We are, in theory, the most identical two people can be on this earth, and yet we are so wildly different in how we make purchase decisions. And I can guarantee you that my 14-year-old daughter shops very differently than I do, okay? And that my 75-year-old aunt shops very differently than I do. But I can also assure you that we're all important. And all of our purchase choices, decisions, influences, all the things that ultimately may or may not lead to your garden center is valuable. So today, as we talk about those generations, let's also consider those road bumps, detours, and the things that might distract a customer from coming to your store. Because remember, I already said, all consumers are different, and you yourself are a consumer. But are you supporting consumers that aren't you? Are you supporting consumers that might not engage in shopping experiences like you prefer to? We need to understand who your customers really are, as well as who your customers could be. The future of retail truly depends on this next slide. You have to be proactive to be profitable. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The future of retail depends on being proactive in order to be profitable. That means you need to look ahead. And that's not new news, okay? Being proactive in most businesses is how you find success. You need to be able to have a forward-thinking mindset, to look ahead and understand not only inventory demands or merchandising displays that might support seasonal sales or incoming inventory, but your proactive behavior is going to be what leads to transactions, okay? And it also, of course, leads to budgeting and other things, staffing, that helps you better understand the big picture of your business. And being proactive and being profitable also means you need to understand generational preferences, okay? So today, I'm going to break down these generations in a bit more detail. So when we look at the composition of who our consumers are, we will begin with Alpha generation all the way to baby boomers. And starting here with the Alpha generation. They are born after 2010. Now granted, most of them don't have their own dollars to spend unless they were earned from chores or allowance or maybe holidays, but they're very, very influential in encouraging others to spend money, right? Whether it's their own parents or their grandparents. So do they want to plant their own little garden maybe? What might inspire them to want to do that, okay? Why would they want to spend money with you? Think about how the Alpha generation could be more important to your business, okay? Now they have grown up in a fully digital world, so what does that mean? You want to probably be where they are, which is in a digital capacity, okay? And I'll talk about that more later. But when we dissect each of these generations, the future of retail is going to depend on you supporting these generations, especially these younger ones, whose dollars are only becoming more influential and being spread out more across total consumer spending. Now, did you know as well that for Generation Alpha, they will make most purchase decisions influenced by social media? Now remember, these are the ones that have grown up in a fully digital world. So this should not be too much of a surprise. But ask yourself, are you guys currently supporting the alpha generation through social media? Who here feels like they could be a little bit? A good handful of you. But all of you, in theory, have this opportunity to better support them and then welcome more consumer dollars by doing so. Next, we have our Generation Z. This is born between 1995 and 2010. They are currently the most prominent spending generation, okay? They are in teenage years, young adult years, college years. They're very influential because they need a lot. Their bodies are still growing, so there's of course that simple need category of things like consumer goods, apparel, wardrobe, but then they also are involved in a lot. They're very, whether it's sports activities, even travel, holidays, there's a huge influence. I mean, we can look at our modern day, what's happening this summer with the Eras Tour, which is the Taylor Swift Tour, nothing to do with garden centers, but this generation is the most highly populated attending that, and it's made a huge financial impact in cities across our country. So when you think about how consumers are spending, also consider who is spending. Generation Z is incredibly important. They are larger than the millennial generation. In fact, they outspent the millennial generation in 2022, okay? More so than any other generation. They spent the most, including millennials. So it's really important to, again, understand where dollars are being spent and by whom. Now next, we have our millennials. They're born between 1980 and 1995. So they have a huge buying power, and 1 in 4 of them currently have children, okay? So this is actually increasing, and they're starting to have multiple children, which is also great. So now their children are alpha generation, and they are millennial parents. And a lot of them are homeowners. They are spending money at home more so than out. So that includes their own gardens and lawns. They have a huge care about environmental concerns. And this is an audience for sure you want to make sure you are nurturing. But did you also know that this is a generation that if their preferred payment option is not a part of your portfolios of payments accepted, they will abandon your business, okay? So what does that look like? What does that mean? We'll talk about payments in a bit more detail later, but you need to understand their mindset says, hey, you don't support me, I don't support you, okay? Anybody who has a millennial sibling, child, relative, colleague, you know they're stubborn, okay? So don't challenge this. Give them that opportunity to welcome that payment that they want, okay? And we'll talk about that in more detail. So next we have Generation X. They're born between 1965 and 1980. They actually make up 31% of total U.S. income, but only 25% of the population. So they're very influential in terms of spending, but they're also taking care of their aging parents. They also have their own children. There's a lot going on, but they're at the peak of their careers, many of them. Okay? So they're making the most they've ever made, and probably the most they will make for many of them. And so this is also a wonderful generation that you want to make sure you're supporting. For many of this generation, they've settled into a home that they might identify as a forever home. So how do you further expand on the needs that they have from your own unique businesses, lawn and garden, right? So is it more seasonal items? Is it more holiday, festive things? Is it all the extra stuff they don't really need, but they definitely want? So this is a generation of, they don't have to necessarily catch up to what they need anymore. Everything that they're purchasing is really for others and because they simply want it. And there's something to be said for that, okay? So you want to make sure that when you're supporting them, you understand how to nurture that. And many of these Gen Xers consider product and store experiences before making purchases, including peer reviews. Now, Yelp, that's a great review site. We have Google, we have Facebook. There's so many of these, and we'll touch on that in more detail later. But what you have to recognize is that peers do influence others, and they care about what other consumers think. So nurturing that and knowing that consumers are influenced by that is incredibly important. And then next, of course, we have our baby boomers born between 1946 and 1964. Interestingly enough, they make more purchases online than many other generations, partly because they're leaving their house less, and they love the convenience of it. Their disposable income is very much about what they want. And they love to also, of course, get out and do things. They want to have experiences rather than things. And so you have the opportunity with your business to deliver experiences for them. And finally, the silent generation, born before 1945. 2/3 of this generation are women, and interestingly, they are still very influential in their younger generation of spending, right? So they influence, whether it's their grandchildren or their own children, they definitely still have influence. And just a general FYI, 2 out of 3 customers will return to business with a loyalty-based incentive, and that crosses all generations, okay? So that's not just your own, the baby boomers. Who here offers loyalty in their business? What I loved is I saw the most confidence in those hands being raised right there, right? So of all the questions I was asked so far, the hands went up fast and confidently, and that's awesome because that's a very, very important thing. So again, I ask you, do you know who your customers really are or could be? Knowing what interests your customers and how they prefer to spend is going to be a very important factor of supporting generations in the years ahead and as you grow your business. And keeping that in mind, you have to consider how to deliver frictionless, accessible, contactless, and preferred payment options for your consumers. Now, knowing our alpha generation has grown up in a fully digital world, they don't necessarily like to interact with people for transactions. They don't even understand that that's a need. We see it in our big box retail stores, but we also see it in more boutique stores where there's contactless payment. I was talking earlier with Jim, one of the show directors here, about how Apple does, a great payment. You decide what you like, you just make the transaction right there with that individual salesperson, and then you move ahead. That is happening in more than just Apple. It's happening in your Sephora's, it's happening in Ulta's, it's happening in a variety of chain stores, but it's also happening in a variety of independent businesses like your own. And so you can make that happen through technology. The key is you have to identify what you'll be accepting and how to do that. So there's a variety of great ways to do this, of course, through your point of sale providers and your transactions. This is just a quick reference of how people like to pay across the generations, but the reality is that you want to make sure that it's not just cash. In fact, some people no longer accept cash, right, for various reasons. But it's not just credit or debit either. You also want to make sure you're offering modern payment options, okay? So let's go through these. We have over here, my little blinker, whoops. Where did my blinker go? Well, I don't know how to use this. So Pay, over here, the Apple Pay, all the way on your far left. That's going to be the opportunity for you to have that quick transaction with your phone where you quickly connect it and you're done. Has everybody here welcomed this into their business yet? Oh, I hear that? Everyone starts chatting like, uh-oh. So very, very few of you confident. In fact, nobody did this. Like I asked about loyalty and rewards, many of you went up. For Apple Pay, let's see it again. Okay, so we have not quite a quarter of the room using this. 100% of you really should be using this, okay? Apple Pay is what your millennials, your Gen Z, your alpha generation is very, very comfortable with. And these are important generational consumers to support. Remember what I told you earlier about millennials? They will abandon a destination if it's not accepted. By the way, before they even get to your store, you want to know what one of those detours is that happened? They looked at your website and saw you didn't offer it. So they never even showed up at your business, okay? That path to purchase is going to constantly take twists and turns. And if they detour and decide, let me go to their website and see what's accepted, and it's not what they like, they're out. That's that twist and detour right there. Now you have Klarna. Who here is familiar with Klarna or companies like Klarna? Just a hand, even less of you. Klarna is going to be a company similar to a firm that is basically what's called a 4-installment payment company, okay? This is your modern layaway, folks. Those of us who remember layaway, I remember layaway. This is how consumers who, one, don't want to use credit cards, but two, need to make transactions that are of higher purchase value typically, and they prefer, again, not to use that credit card, but they can't pay it all up front. Let's just pretend for easy math it's $1,000, right? they're going to get Klarna or Affirm, very similar companies with just different variations that as business operators you would want to look into. Klarna or Affirm would allow those companies to welcome that transaction from a customer, make that $1,000 purchase. That business would get that $1,000 right away. So you are not losing money, okay? You need to know that. You're getting your full $1,000 transaction. The consumer now owes back money to Klarna or Affirm, okay? So it's your modern layaway. And so you need to give that as an option to your audience of consumers so that if they're like, oh, I really want to landscape the entire backyard, but I only have budget for, the back right corner right now. And you're like, no, we got you. We have this great program. And you let them know. And then they're excited. And then they realize, oh, I don't have credit. I don't use a credit card. No, you don't need one. So the science behind it, let the Affirm and Klarna guys deal with. The good news to you guys is you get your money up front, okay? So look into those two companies. There's quite a few others. If you want to go to Google, great resource for installment payment companies, okay? There's more and more constantly being introduced. I'm very familiar with both of those. There's another one called Afterpay that's also very good. So just consider what's best for you, okay? And then Zelle. Zelle is a transaction that happens from a bank account directly to someone. So you can also do that through business. And that's basically like a digital debit card, okay? So again, many consumers do not want to use credit cards. Many don't want to use cash. So you need to make sure you're welcoming modern payment choices for each of the generations and all consumers. Another fun fact about this, a lot of these companies now have these like Facebook groups or other social media groups where consumers will say, hey, I'm in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. Can you tell me a garden and lawn retailer that offers 4 installment payment companies? So this is how those generations communicate. They lean into other consumers and peers, and they actually have groups that tell them who accepts what, okay? So you want to start to be among those that are being told, hey, come here, right? Now, it's not just what they choose to make transactions with, however, okay? So it's not simply that. They also care about, can they do it themselves, right? Many consumers do not want to have to wait in line or even connect with an individual person. I'm old school, I'm not going to lie. If I go to any business, I will always go in line where someone is working because the old-fashioned girl in me knows that's going to keep a job, okay? That doesn't mean, though, that we shouldn't have preferences for those consumers who don't think like me, right? So can they self-checkout because they want to do it on their time? Or maybe they want to have somebody help them with that checkout. Maybe they have questions. Maybe they need someone to help load up something, right? Or possibly, can they even just purchase with a click? Okay, many transactions don't always need a full-blown, service or checkout space. It could be simpler. Or if your website allows it, or social media, which we'll talk about later, potentially they can just make that click online and come to pick it up. Curbside pickup, which I know you guys are all familiar with. That is not new news. That certainly evolved a lot during COVID and post-COVID. But we want to make sure, again, that it's frictionless, accessible, contactless, and preferred, at least as options. It doesn't mean this is your only way, but it means it has to be among the ways of which you accept transactions. Okay? Again, that path to purchase. If you are going to continue to welcome consumers, do not give them detour opportunities. Okay? Make sure you're giving them the payment options that they want. Make sure that you're providing them the checkout experiences that they want. And make sure you're considering what influences them. Okay? Why are they shopping at your place versus another? Will they remain loyal once they're there? This is where we talked earlier about loyalty and rewards. Let's consider at what point during checkout, how is this part of that experience? Okay? Are you collecting their data? And we'll talk even more about that later as well. So make sure that your future gives consumers the respect of consumer choices and preferences across the generations, okay? You cannot just think like your own consumer self. You have to put yourself outside of that box. Which leads us into a more detailed understanding of that path to purchase, okay? Now, the path to purchase traditionally was simply get to the store, get to the garden center, get to the destination of a brick and mortar experience where you can connect with consumers. And then, of course, the World Wide Web came about, and the digital footprint started to evolve. And we know that the internet is way more than just your own branded URL website. It's way more than just social media. It's way more than just email marketing, right? There's a lot going on when it comes to digital. So keeping that all in mind, how do you really think about that path to purchase and how to connect with consumers? The good news is a lot of this is good old-fashioned ways, okay? Some of it is not. Beginning with peers, though. Peers are your neighbors. They're your friends. They're the mom in the school pickup line or on the sport sidelines that you're sharing a soccer game with every single Saturday for 12 weeks and you start talking to, right? Your peers are the people that are going to influence you. And likewise, you're going to influence them, okay? These are the people in your community that you just simply chat with, talk to, influence. And we want to make sure with that, you are recognizing as business leaders, that's going to influence others on their path to purchase to your store or not. The good news and the bad news. Now, I can tell you on many personal experiences, I've had amazing experiences at various businesses along the way, and I've been the first one to tell my friends about it. Now, again, I'm a self-described retail geek, so a little bit biased here. My eye can be sometimes critical. It can also be sometimes jaded. And I'm still just a consumer myself. But I will also tell you that my negative experiences always speak louder than my positive ones, right? And I'm sure a lot of you know that from your own firsthand experiences. So think about that as business operators too, and how you might nurture something within your own space, because you know when that person leaves, they're now a peer in your community. So think about all those actions, and then think about the loyalty that you can start to build in your business as well. What are you doing to do that? I know we talked about reward and loyalty programs, but what are the things that you're offering to really build not just the loyalty of a program, but the loyalty of being in your business, showing up despite those detours, right? Even if something happens, they remain true to you. Is it your customer service? Is it your employees that are keeping people coming back? Is it the heritage of your brand? Is it that 60-year business like John you have with your family that people love, right? There's a lot of reasons people stay loyal. So make sure you're nurturing that. And rewards is definitely one of those things. The future of retail leans way heavy into this. People like to believe they're getting free money. So speak to rewards through dollars, okay? You can do it in a variety of ways, like if you have a punch card, which is more old-fashioned, or a digital way of capturing transactions and earning rewards. But if you translate it so that they look at it as money earned or money not being spent that they're getting but they don't have to spend, that tends to lean into a heavier response from consumers. And speaking of that, experiences. The experiences that consumers have in your space will continue to evolve as the future of retail evolves. They want to feel as if you're delivering experiences for them at every touch point. And so thinking about all these different things, you have to consider, what are you going to do? But I'm curious first, who here has children? So what's like a recent example of something, a child, let's say around 15, 16, 17, anybody have one of those? Do you mind sharing what they would have wanted?
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. There you go, you just summed it up perfectly. So when we think about children and what they want, it is endless, right? And I think about a garden center and a lawn center, however your specific space is defined, and guess what? It's also endless, right? And so there is always going to be a reason that you need to connect with customers, okay? The kid mentality, and you literally summed it up perfectly, by the way. Did I plant you there? I mean, I swear I didn't, but that was the moral of that story. Kids want everything. They're constantly asking for things. It's really no different as consumers evolve across the generations. They constantly need and want things, but maybe they're on a budget, okay? Maybe they have to decide, as we all know, because we're all adults, they do have to decide where they're spending their dollars? Are they doing front porch planters for the holidays, or are they only going to do the mantle this year because they're on a budget with some fresh greens, right? Ask questions, start to talk, learn and understand that path to purchase and why your consumers are landing where they are with you. Making sure that the collisions in their own life, it's not just on the path to purchase, it's before the purchase, before they've even decided that they need or want something. They have things that are giving them detours, right? So they're twisting and turning and doing all these different things and going over unexpected speed bumps. You want to make sure that despite the human emotion of consumers, you can still bring them back on track to you. So that's a really important thing to consider too in the future of retail, is that human connectivity, the emotional connection that you can build with your consumers, with the peers who are talking to others. And the future will continue to get more complex in retail, and yet at the same time, it will appear more simple. So you want to make sure there's an emotional attachment to your business and your customers, okay? Because these will continue along the way. You need to be where your customers are through both sentiment and destination, okay? So the true path to purchase and the emotional path to purchase. And you need to make sure that you're considering how they are influenced, where they get inspired, where they learn from, why they stay connected to you, and where they choose to spend. And there's going to be a lot of touch points on that path to purchase that are going to influence that, which we'll go into more detail through customer connectivity, okay? So the customer connectivity part is very important because this is where that emotional piece really begins to weigh heavier, and it ultimately leads to sales. If customer connectivity is doing its job correct, and if you guys leading those choices of customer connectivity are doing that job well, you will lead to sales. And nowadays, there's so much when it comes to customer connectivity. There's the good old-fashioned website, in-store, there's also the internet, there's of course the World Wide Web. I mean, there's so many different things. We'll go into more detail here. But just taking a quick peek at this, quick question. Who here is involved in all that? It's almost impossible, right? What is it? Who here has their phone accessible, within reach right now? Pick it up, show me your phone. Okay? This is always with us. And remember, Alpha generation grew up in a fully digital world. If it's not the phone, it's the iPad, it's a computer. I mean, within a foot of myself, I have 3 of these devices, okay? We live in a world where the connectivity to this is almost like glue, okay? What's the first thing someone does when they sit down in their car sometimes? Look at their phone. What's the first thing they do when they wake up? Look at their phone. What's the first thing they do when they step into a pause moment of a store, whether it's an elevator, an escalator, or even waiting in line? What do? Look at their phone. You can be the detour to someone's transaction through this phone. If that customer hasn't already landed in your destination yet, you can start to capture them by being that detour, okay? You can also be the person who has a customer in the store and capturing them through your phone, their phone, I should say, right? So let's look at all the different ways this digital connectivity, and it's not just digital, we will talk about brick and mortar experiences too, but the phone is wildly valuable. And as much as we don't want to believe it, it is one of the most influential things on the path to purchase of a consumer, including payment, like we talked about earlier, that Apple Pay, boom, done, right? So you want to think about all the different ways you can leverage that. The first being a peer review site. In your own business right now, who here encourages consumers to share comments on peer review sites? So very small handful of you guys. This is a great opportunity for you guys to say, if you're proud of your work and you know you do damn good business, customer service, employees are strong, why are you not trying to heighten your peer review from others, from your consumers? Because we know that consumers go there. Remember, Generation X, that's one of the first places they go when they start to make that path of purchase and decision making, okay? They want to know what other consumers think. So peer review sites are very important for you guys to consider. Not only Yelp, but also your Facebook reviews. You might even have local review sites. Consider everything. What I would challenge you guys to do, and this is your homework, is go to Google, put in your business name, see what comes up in general, but then start to dissect all those review sites that people have spoke about you, okay? And if you're not already, you need to be managing those sites as well. Managing them does not, unfortunately, mean that you get to take away those 1-star versus 5-star reviews, but you do need to make sure that you have your garden center identified with the accurate store times, the accurate payment choices. We already talked about how important that is. Accuracy across all the different touch points of what your business represents, okay? And this is also going to be across Google, Yahoo, and search sites. Because what you'll find in your search is that you are positioned in various places you might not be familiar with. So then you need to go backwards and make sure you own that site in terms of your business voice. Does that make sense, guys? So this is one of the most important things you can do to nurture the future of your business. You need to make sure you're capturing and understanding and owning not only the accuracy of your business information at these places, but then you're updating yourself with what people are saying. And by the way, when someone says something like, hey, I had a horrible experience, chime in, okay? Let them know we apologize, for that inconvenience. That's certainly not our standard. However, we'd love the opportunity to see if we can help bring you back to our business and make sure you're satisfied. You can use your own choice of words, of course, but the general idea is that you want to make sure that you're acknowledging it. And guess what? Now someone else who goes to that site and is considering going to your business sees that. That's that human emotional touch we talked about, okay? This digital connectivity does not have to be a non-human experience. It actually allows you guys to have a very heightened human experience, okay? And that's very important because personalization in the future of retail is one of the big buzzwords that they constantly throw out. And that comes with AI and different things, and we'll talk about that later. But personalization is also very old-fashioned, right? That's the good news. So let's make sure we're not putting a disconnect of what that personalized touch is with this. Next, of course, your own business URL. Make sure your own website is accurate with all those details. Social media has to be accurate across every touch point. Grab the handle even if you're not using it. Grab it, okay? Because as your peers beneath you start to, maybe take leadership in your company, they can help you. Just grab it, make sure you get it. Text message marketing is incredibly valuable, okay? SMS messaging is how others refer to that. So consider that. And then, of course, all the other touch points of which you stay connected to customers. So when you think about your own path to purchase, think about how often you're using the phone because it's so important for you guys to recognize the tool that it is for others. And think about, when doing that, if your phone is going to be something that's a detour, a distraction, or lead you in a direction, okay? Will it allow you to spend or detour, basically, okay? I'll go through these slides pretty quick if you want to take pictures of this, but your store hours, these are the types of things that all these touch points need to share. You also need to identify product understanding. What does your business offer, okay? So your business might have clarity to you, but it doesn't always have clarity to your consumers, okay? What are the policies at your store? Is there a return policy, gift cards? These are the things you should be putting on your website, as well as potentially on those review sites, your web pages, social media. And remember that not all consumers are the same. You need to create policies and experiences that support all the generations and all the consumers. Otherwise, that will happen. We can't be so fooled to think that it won't. Another old-fashioned tip here is that customer support will never go out of style, okay? In fact, did you know that 94% of customers are willing to spend more at places with personalized customer experiences? Who here feels like they offer personalized experiences? The catch is only 70% of customers actually feel as if they're getting customer service, okay? Or businesses treat customer service as an afterthought, I'm sorry. 70% of customers feel that businesses treat customer service personalization as an afterthought. So today, I'm going to give you very quick 3 steps to red carpet customer service. Red carpet customer service. Any business can use this, okay? The first is be starstruck. True story, years ago I lived in Chicago, and a friend of mine called. She owned a wonderful toy store, and she said, "Hey Nicole, oh my God, Brangelina's coming in tomorrow." This is when this crew is still married, right? They're coming in, they're shopping at my toy store, they're arriving at 9, we open at 10, they're doing a private thing. I don't know what to do. I said, "That's amazing, you're gonna make so much money." And she's just like, "I have nobody to work." I'm like, "You have a team of like 20, nobody wants to work?" You know, you would kind of think people on their day off would be like, "Sign me up." She's like, "No, you don't get it. I would never have any of them help them." Exactly. So here's the thing, and you can take pictures of this as well. You want to stop what you're doing when people come into the store. Pay attention to them. Communicate. Give them that personal space that many customers desire. Make sure you're offering personalization through store signage, potentially digital signage, that they can navigate and kind of lead their own path through your store. And then, of course, be there to assist if needed. Okay? Be starstruck. The next is you want to treat them like royalty. What does royalty have? Royalty has standards. There's actually a protocol when you're in the presence of royalty. Okay? So if you're in the presence of royalty, it's no different than your store. Set expectations. Make sure that you train your employees to understand them. Review this. You want to make sure that every single consumer feels as if they are a VIP, that they definitely feel like they want to be. The future of retail, in fact, is going to only heighten customer expectations of demand. Customers know they have choices. They're getting savvier, okay? They actually don't have patience to like kind of push through things. They know that they want to be treated right. And the third piece to this puzzle here is get their autographs. Okay, when you get their autographs, what are you doing? You're getting their actual autograph through a transaction. In theory, it could be Apple Pay, guys, okay? But you're getting them on your email list. You're sharing your social media. You're creating program experiences, maybe that text message, SMS marketing and messaging. And you're getting transactions. So the red carpet customer service is very simple. You can bring this back to your store and set your own standards. Be starstruck, treat them like royalty, get their autographs. Which leads me to shoppertainment. Shoppertainment is one of my favorite words. Coined it years ago. Love it. Offer lawn and garden center engagement beyond shopping. That's what entertainment shoppertainment is. Over half of customers surveyed want to gain an experience while shopping. Shoppertainment is when you guys deliver experiences in your store. So the question becomes, what do? You can do educational things, social events, VIP parties. There's a lot of different things. You can even work with non-competitive, like-minded businesses to come together to do something. Maybe bring external businesses into your year. It's the holidays, bring a local photographer, a bakery, you can set up a huge display. There's a lot of different things. You can talk to your vendors, ask your customers what they want. Plan your calendars for a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. And of course, know your audience, okay? You want to make sure you know your audience. You also want to make sure you know your community. What's going on in your community? Because shoppertainment does lean heavily into what's going on immediately around you. The whole idea here is that you want to engage, inform, listen, learn, laugh, have fun, and repeat it again and again, okay? That's going to lead to dollars. You basically want to give your customers a reason to pause and to be with you in your business. And even between shoppertainment heightened experiences like that VIP party you might do, or maybe you do a big fall festival, you want to also do things that can always maybe be there. Selfie station, okay? Potentially demos, where you're giving people hands-on experiences, and with that, actual experiences. So this is shoppertainment, guys. Shoppertainment is going to be a huge opportunity for you guys to increase your business in the future, okay? People like destinations that give them experiences, okay? And actually, if you start to look around you beyond your own center and what's happening with our local malls, malls are now being anchored to entertainment things, whether it's a Bolero bowling alley or something else, a Topgolf. That's because people like to shop and be entertained. So incorporate that into your own business. Our final piece here is going to be technology that you actually need. Okay, and I say the word actually need Because there's so much technology out there. It can be overwhelming to kind of navigate what you do and don't need. But the reality is that technology fuels businesses, okay? And technology allows for agility and demand to be met, okay? Agility means quick thinking. You need to be able to shift gears. That path to purchase isn't just the consumer path to purchase. Business leaders have that path to purchase. Technology gives them agility and clarity to see things and ultimately have enhanced decision making, okay? And the future needs to make sure that technology is allowing you to reach consumers more than ever, as well as business goals. Your goal of technology is to do more with less, okay? It's also to be proactive, to be profitable, and to connect better with customers, okay? Now, 45% of retailers do not actually leverage data to incorporate and understand how to better support their customers. That's incredible to me, because even social media, which you can use for free for the most part, gives you data. Do you guys look at the data that you get from social media? It tells you what got the most engagement, what didn't get the most engagement. And then you get to look at that and say, you know what, I'm going to start to do this instead, or this was really good for us, let's do that. So you want to make sure you're not just using technology, but you're leveraging the data that it comes with. And the future of retail kind of paints a picture here. And I don't really expect you to read the fine print, but there's a shopper in the store, he has something, but then the geo-local AI technology that store has invested in says, oh, Nicole's back in the store, let's send her a push message where she gets 20% off of today's purchase, or let's let her know that it's buy one, get one free. Okay, so there's like incredible technology, also kind of scary, but also incredible. And then I'm like, oh, shit, they knew I'm here. So at the same time, I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. I might want to save $10 and buy 2 plants instead of 1 or whatever it is, right? So now you're in this store environment and you've been influenced already. Your path to purchase has already been steered towards a different direction. And at the same time, you're being engaged by digital signage and you're touching things and, oh, this can give me a virtual demo on how to compost, whatever it might be. And I'm engaged, but I'm also entertained. It's shoppertainment, right? And then I ultimately make a transaction and they say, hey, we're offering a new loyalty program. It's for the holidays only. If you spend X amount of dollars, this is what it is. Do you want to sign up? We'll share it in our text messaging, which you've opted into already. So that brings that customer communication thing. There's a lot of different ways that you can engage your customer, but the key is you have to engage your customer. It can't just be on the choice of which you prefer. You have to consider all the different ways. And so there's a lot of details to think about. These are various technologies that already exist that I hope most of you are already using, okay? But with that in mind, we do have artificial intelligence. We do have chatbots. There's a lot of unknown out there, and I could bore you with the depths of it because I am fortunate to work with the companies like IBM and Salesforce and learn about a lot of this great insight. But we don't really need to know the depths of it. We need to understand what it does to the customer, okay? And we need to understand what it does to you and your business and how it can ultimately help you. We need to know how you can leverage it so that you can boost revenue. The reality is technology equals data, technology equals personalization, technology brings clarity to your business, and with that clarity, you get revenue, okay? If you understand inventory and customers, then you have a stronger understanding of your business. 62% of current customers plan to buy more in the year ahead within this industry, okay? Within that, 76% of them are millennials, and they want to buy more in the year ahead. This is from 2022 data, so they're talking about 2023. How are you reaching these customers? One of the fastest growing technology among millennials and Gen Z is social commerce. Who here is using this already? Nobody. 2. Oh, you are. Yay, good. 3. So social commerce is where you are connecting social media and commerce. If you put an image of something, maybe you have pre-planted like holiday decor or something, it's not personalized, it's already made for you. If you say on social media it's available, they click it, the purchase is made, they now make it for pickup. There's a great company called Comment Sold that does that. That's a technology you would put into your Facebook or your Instagram. And what it does is allows you to get social media, take their dollars right away, then they come to your store, okay? So the other thing in technology you don't want to do is forget about your employees, okay? These are great companies that help with schedule generators and managing employees. I know that employees in general can sometimes be a challenge in itself, but if you start to invest in how to better support your employees, they're going to be more invested in you as well, okay? So these companies are just a few. They're essentially schedule generators. So if I'm like, hey, Karen, can you pick up my shift tomorrow? My daughter's sick, something like that. And they can do it here. It saves you time because you don't have to now make all those phone calls and worry about it. And you are giving them that freedom to do it, and they take ownership and pride in having that as well, okay? So these do some other great things also. So finally, the future of retail will continue to swerve. It's going to offer detours, and it will continue to be unexpected. But you can create a roadmap for your unique business to find success and keep you on track and keep consumers on track to your garden centers. The catch is, you need to make sure every single generation is kept in mind on that path to purchase. The future of retail in your business will only evolve if you continue to nurture all the generations, not just the ones you're comfortable with. And of course, finally, just remember, you must be proactive in order to be profitable. Thank you, guys. I know I talked fast there at the end, but I look forward to seeing hopefully some of you upstairs, and I believe it's called the Lawn and Garden Lounge?
Networking Lounge.
Networking Lounge, yes. So I'd love to connect with you guys there. Thank you.
And thank you, Nicole, for giving us all those insights. And yes, as she just mentioned, please join us in the LGR Networking Lounge in just a few moments. She'll be there to interact with you, field your questions, and of course you can ask her about anything she addressed this morning in the keynote. But of course, obviously, she knows a lot about this industry, about how to sell. So she's there to field questions, interact with you. And again, just one more reminder about your evaluation forms. If you wouldn't mind, please just filling those out and then dropping them in the green basket on our way out. But thank you for kicking off our conference here with our first keynote and for being a part of our show. Enjoy, everybody. Have fun. Yes, question.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I had a question about when you mentioned some of the biggest pain, like Apple Pay and stuff. What I find, like my son is 20, what I find that they're using a lot, that generation, is Cash App. Is that a big one that's...
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, that was just a sampling of them, like to show the different types.
Sure.
Yes, that is huge.
Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I tell everybody, like, start to look when you check out at other places too, what they're accepting at more of your mainstream retailers, because they tend to pick up those things first, and then it can translate into more independent businesses.
Well, very good. Well, Nicole will be available to field more questions at the LGR Lounge, so she can answer questions about Cash App and everything else. So we'll see you guys up there. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.